long as it's short, Mother. Forget I know.
Thank you, everybody. I was intending, as I often do, to go and keep my mouth shut, right? But I've heard a couple of things tonight that makes me feel got to speak up. Let's get our heads up. Stand tall, because it is very often a symptom of working class Scottish people that they bend their shoulders. You don't bend your shoulders, friend, you stand up with your head up. Can you hear me up there? Because I know this mic isn't really all that great. No, I do it when I was up there, it wasn't. Anyway, if you think, and I've made this point at meetings before, when you think of this wee toty country, Scotland, we provided the world with steam, which generated and created the Industrial Revolution. We gave the world telephones, television, antibiotics, antiseptics, anesthetics, I said, sorry. Carmagadam, forgot about that. Modern engineering, right? I haven't even mentioned whiskey. And Harry Potter or anything like that. But if you think what this country, when it was a very downtrodden country as well, what we contributed to this world. The sky's not big enough for our heads. That's the bottom line. And I pray, I'm spiritual, Tony, I'll tell you that. I pray that I believe we will get a yes vote, and I think we'll get a pretty good one.
Yes.
But I shudder to think that we will live any longer under the shadow of these gangsters. Both sides, three sides by the way, right? With their spines, they forget, especially Labour, they forget they stand on the shoulders of giants. So let us show them how we take the giants again. And I would ask people to vote yes.
Tommy was right about the broad spectrum of people who are supporting independence. I'm a Conservative. I used to be a Conservative councillor in Perth, and I've stood outside the Scottish Parliament on opening day with Tommy supporting the students. But I'm campaigning as a Conservative because I want to see independent Scotland first. We can then have our realignment, and hopefully for me that there will be a centre-right party of some kind. I hope it's not going to be called Conservative. So what Tommy is saying is absolutely right. This is a grand. You folk haven't turned out, and there are hundreds and hundreds all over the place. You know, folk have not been motivated by anything like they're seeing just now, and this is absolutely tremendous tonight. So it's just really a question, Tommy. What's your views on land ownership in Scotland, and how could we share the land better, including things like community partnerships or community ownership?
Can I just hand it to Paul for his courage? He seems far too nice to be a Tory. I suppose it does remind you, when I went into the Glasgow City Chambers, when I was elected, I was elected in 1992. It was the easiest election I was ever involved in, because I was in prison at the time. So I didn't have to deliver any of the voices. I was able to hold 2 press conferences in jail. It was fantastic. You know. I was what's known as a civil prisoner. The Scottish Prison Service didn't know what to do with me. And I looked up the representation of the People's Act and I said, hey, wait, man, I'm a civil prisoner. I'm entitled to a press conference. So they had to give me a press conference in jail, which is marvellous. I was elected in 1992 in May, and then I was released from jail for help to prevent a poll tax warrant sale. And I was released and walked right into the city chambers from Queen Street Station to become a councillor. And I have to say the reason I'm raising this story is one of the most gentle and helpful individuals I found in that city chamber. It wasn't among the Labour benches. It was a young man called, well, young man as in, he was about 75 at the time, John Young, his name was, and he was the Conservative councillor. And therefore it does go to show you that even though we may disagree in political ideas, there is a basic grain of humanity that we all share. And Paul and I will disagree on many things. But the good thing is Paul agrees that Scotland should decide these things. And who knows in time to come, it may be that people do get fed up with left of centre governments. They do get fed up with what they perceive to be broken promises, and they may decide that instead of left of centre, they would prefer a centre-right government. The beauty of democracy is that you can decide that. Nobody in Westminster will decide that. That's what independence is about, brothers and sisters. Land ownership in Scotland is one of the most unequal in the world. No, not even just Europe, the world. We have got rich families, most of them who are absent landlords, who own Scotland. Personally, I would like to see the people own the land. Always remember the gamekeeper and poacher story. And the gamekeeper caught the poacher with a trout fish and said, you need to give that back. Those fish belong to my father. He said, how do they belong to your father? He said, because this is my father's land. And he said, well, how did your father get it? And he says, oh, his grandfather gave him it. Well, how did his grandfather get it? He says, well, his grandfather fought somebody for it. And the wee poacher took off his jacket. He said, well, I'll fight you for it then. Let's be clear about it. The system of land ownership in this country is counterproductive, totally anarchic, and it has to change. And it'll be one of the first things that we're going to tackle in our new independent parliament.